This is Lorelia coming to you live here on YouTube, doing a video on the power of leverage. So, I announced a couple of days ago I'm gonna start going live here on my mobile phone. It's been a while since I did these, and the last time I did one of these, I was talking about the power of equity. And in that conversation, I had people who were um, dialoguing with me during the live about should they buy, should they rent? And from that, there was some great dialogue that I shared in that live. And so today I'm going to come to you talking about the power of leverage. So I always want to preference, because I'm a big advocate of giving context to content, because I never want to just blurt out things that does not have that much clarity to it. So of course, I mean, I could spend, pretty much a whole week talking about this subject, but let me just condense it down to about 15 or 20 minutes as I do this live. So, the pros and cons of leverage, going back to what I said about giving context. So when I talk about leverage, there's many things you can leverage. There's not one way to skin a cat, but in today's video, when I talk about leverage, I'm talking about leverage with credit, financing, real estate, and so I think my focus today is going to be primarily on real estate. So when I talk about leverage, I talk about it from that standpoint. But with that being said, the one thing that I want to point out when it comes to leverage is understanding, number one, understanding where you are in the landscape of understanding leverage. Because when I did my video the last time and I talked about the power of equity, equity is a component of leverage. And the reason why I said understanding it is because I am a big advocate of not telling people to leverage something that they don't have. So a lot of times people will hear a topic, hear a subject, and then try to muster up the wherewithal to figure out how they can do what it is that they have heard. And so let me just say that as I talk about this topic now, I'm talking about and talking to the person who currently does have something. And that comes from, I had and I'm never really on Instagram, but I had somebody who DM'd me and they talked about having equity in their home and wanted to know about how they compare that with DSCR loans. And so I talked to, so that's why I want to do this video on leverage, because leverage stems from the conversation that I had the other day of equity. So once again, a lot of times people hear, oh, they can leverage one piece of real estate to buy another piece of real estate, but they really don't know what that looks like. And that's why I wanted to say the one thing you have to understand if you want to leverage a piece of real estate is understanding what you are doing in the scheme of what is the long-term result of what it is that you are doing. Hey, how you doing? A random rabble, ramble, whatever it is. How you doing? So you want to make sure that you understand the context of what you are doing. The reason why you want to understand that is because when it comes to real estate and it comes to leverage, real estate is not a asset class that you can easily liquidate. So you can't, make a transaction in real estate and then a week later be like, oops, I made a mistake after the closing. I want to reverse the whole situation. I don't want to do it no more. I don't want to leverage my one piece of property for another. So that's why you have to know the long term result of what it is that you want to do. That's why I preference this with saying this conversation is for people who understand how leverage works and the power of it and what it can do, the pros and cons. So the pro is, going back to what I said, I had somebody who reached out to me and asked about leveraging a piece of property to buy to get into a DSCR loan. The pro of it is, yes, you have a piece of real estate. You have a piece of real estate with some equity, talked about equity in the other video, and now you want to leverage that to buy another piece of property where you may be using a DSCR loan. That is the pro. The con, now once again, the con, and I just mentioned about what's the con. Real estate is not equally, it's not something that you could easily liquidate. You don't get the opportunity of, when you have finished that transaction, meaning you went through it, you did the closing, you don't get a chance to say, hey, can I do a do-over? I kind of made a mistake. I want to reverse, this whole transaction. A lot of times that does not happen. So that is why there are pros and there are cons when it comes to leverage. Because what a lot of people don't understand is, a lot of concepts that you may hear people talk about online, talking heads, is that a lot of times it comes from their perspective. At least I'm honestly going to say it. The things that I talk about, it comes from my perspective and what I've been exposed to and what I've been able to help clients as well as myself do. So once again, giving real life perspective, because I'm a big advocate of, hey, I like Chat GPT just like everyone else. But we all know that in this day and time, it is easy to Chat GPT a lot of things, but this is where the separation of those who understand really the whole process, because do you have experience doing it? So that's number one, because you don't want to get yourself caught up in a jam because you like the salaciousness and the sensationalism that has to do with leverage, but you don't understand the wherewithal that can happen. Because let me tell you, as I age myself here, I went through the 2008 real estate bubble. And I share this story to say perspective is everything. But even though, with everything being doom and gloom with real estate for a lot of real estate investors, professionals, or what have you, 2008 was a great time for me. And it was actually a time that I actually did start doing transactions. So what was a bad time for some people was a great time for me. I did some of my first transactions during a boom time. I mean, a doom and gloom time. Why? Because I was able to spot an opportunity existed, and I took advantage of it. So I say that to say, why did I bring that up? There are changes in the economy as we speak. And I talked about this a year ago, and in 2000, 2003 and around 2002. I said that be careful, because some of your latest topics and things that are being talked about online, as we get further on, and we are now in 2024, almost into 2025, depending on who you are speaking to, they may tell you that is a doom and gloom time. And I'm here to tell you that it is a time for great opportunities. And that's why, I'm having this conversation, because I've noticed that people have an interest in this topic, of the equity and the leverage and the DSCR loans. And so when I did my last video, I did a case study on DSCR loans. I talked about, DSCR loans is not a space for the person who is new to real estate. It's not for that person, because of the financial outlay that has to be put out. And many times, if a person is new to, with real estate, there are other programs out there for them. I mean, they can do FHA, they may can do a conventional may work for them. And then if they are a veteran, they can do a VA loan. So the financial outlay to be able to acquire the asset is much smaller. But as you begin to expand or scale your portfolio, now you come into a place where you're going to need other ways to be able to acquire real estate. Hence, that's where leverage comes in. Going back to the topic at hand, don't think I forgot. Yes, that's where leverage comes in, because now you want to have the ability to be able to still acquire properties. Once again, in this economy, you're going to have a lot of people talking doom and gloom, but there are opportunities that individuals can take advantage of. It just depends on, like I said, who you're listening to. So with the DSCR loans in that case study, it is a sizable down payment. In that particular case study, I did homes here in the market where I'm at in New Jersey, and many of the multifamily homes go for $500,000. And with that being said, if you are putting 25% or 20% down on $500,000 home, you are in the hundred thousands. Now, one may say, well, shoot, Lorraine, where people got that type of money? You will be surprised. There are a lot of areas where people have those funds, and once again, leverage. So they may be leveraging a piece of property. Like I said, they may have sold a piece of property. They have money sitting in a 1031 tax trust account. And so they know that they need to move that money within a certain period of time. So because they want to avoid tax consequences, that is a place where people may leverage. Another place where people may leverage is they may have some type of self-directed IRA account. They've got money sitting there. Or they may have a regular IRA account and they don't like how the market is doing, and they may want to now have control of their current retirement portfolio, and they want to put it in an asset class that they can control. That's where real estate comes in. So they can transfer that money into a self-directed IRA, hence the money is there. Then you have people who may want to liquidate some of their assets they have in a portfolio, in a brokerage account. So once again, those are three areas that I just mentioned where people would have the ability to be able to get 20 or 25% of 500K. So once again, the pros and cons. Now that's the pro. The pro being that there are multiple ways that a person can leverage, but the con is that you need to know the tax consequence of what you're doing. You also need to understand what's the long-term play, because many things that you do in real estate, you don't get a do-over. You don't get the opportunity to say, oops, I made a mistake. How can I reverse this? So that is the con. So right now, like I said, want to make these short and sweet, no more than about 15 to 20 minutes. And so that is what I have to say today about the pros and cons of leverage. Gonna, as I mentioned to you before, gonna be talking and doing more of these little short lives here on YouTube. So give me your feedback, leave me your thoughts, leave a comment. If you are new to my YouTube channel, please subscribe and also notify yourself of when I come online. And also leave me your thoughts and let me know what you think of some of the information that I share today. As always, you can catch me on Mondays. I do my podcast, Never Lose a Deal podcast, talking more about creative financing and real estate for investors who want to expand their portfolio to build wealth. So once again, this is Lorelia, and I am signing off. Bye-bye.